you guys. This is Tired Goth, and we are gonna do a quick get ready with me for nighttime, sleepy, whatever. And it's gonna be a pretty intense threat intel potential scam exposure. So, okay, I know that a few of you are probably paying attention to some of the tax regulation relief things for for July 15th, right, of 2026. And I would like to talk with you about my experience with a certain company, taxrise, that I felt was something that left a lot to be desired. And we're going to get into that here. So, my understanding was if I had any potential like tax concerns, because I pay my taxes and everything, but there were a couple of years when I got into my entrepreneurship that I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row and there was an issue where someone stole my identity and could have been filing things in my name. So that was the main reason that I called, right? So I decided to take it upon myself to check out an ad that I saw on a local burner phone news network, which was news, period, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I get into the contact section for taxrise and I'm like, okay, cool. And I call them and I'm like, so this is my story. And they're like, oh, well, that sounds like a different situation. You should probably call the IRS directly. So they're like super helpful. They give me all this tax information for, referring to other situations that could be pertinent to my situation. So I call them and it leads to a complete dead end. And I'm like, okay. So I call them back. I call taxrise back and I'm like, okay, so what is going on here? Let's try again. Maybe it is actually a situation I should be concerned with that you could help me with. And one of the representatives is like, oh yeah, no, I see that this could be a potential good thing for you. So I was like, okay, great. So we get into a conversation and I sign up for the services. And he really, like, the representatives are really friendly, really talkative, really know their stuff, but it's very salesperson first, CPA later, right? But they don't present it as that. They present the exact opposite. So first I thought I was talking with a CPA and especially someone who, respected God and all that. They were like, "Oh yeah, God is good. We do this for the people." And my experience shortly thereafter was not so great. And I actually tried to record the phone call where I officially canceled the services today in order to enlighten you as to what exactly I was dealing with. However, you know that I'm a spiritualist, you know how I understand how things come to be. This information is something that is likely protected and does not want to be released against this particular brand and company. And I tried to record like tangible data of what it is I was discussing with this firm, and it got shut down and turned into pictures 4 different times. So I'm like, okay, something's got to give, right? But let's go back to how all of this transpired. Let's go back to how this actually happened and how this, came to be my cancellation of the services. I signed up for the services. I'm like, okay, great. And then they introduce the fee, and man, do they slide it in completely lubed. They're just like, yeah, well, after they ask me, how much is in your bank account right now? To get me all comfortable. I'm like, oh, well, obviously, right now, not a lot. 14 cents, actually, if I'm to be completely candid with you. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, I totally understand. I totally understand. And that's when they slapped me with the fee of $500. And I was like, so I wasn't lying when I told you I have 14 cents in my account, just in case you were using me for voice bait or something like that, for an advertisement or a review that you weren't going to tell me you were going to use me for, since our transaction was so clean, right? Because they do that. People do that. I don't know if taxrise does it, but people do that. Companies do that for their quality assurance rating. So I was like, this wasn't a joke. And he's like, yeah, no, I understand. So we can set up a payment plan, and your first payment can be $248. And I was like, let me break it down for you, man. I just itemized in earnest all of my earnings, all of my earnings, down to what it is that I make each week, down to what it is that my payments are allotted to, because yes, I pay all my bills on time too. Unless someone's fucking with my money, yes, I pay all of my bills on time. My rent, my electricity, my phone bill, my food bills, everything, my transit bills. Yes, I like to pay the MTA, right? I'm a decent person. I structure my expenditures accordingly. I don't like to live in debt, right? I'm responsible with my money. I explained this to him in a discussion that took upwards of 25 minutes, and he still slapped me with a $168 fee for his services. And his argument was, I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really worth it, and we fight tooth and nail to make sure that you don't have to pay back anything to the IRS, because the IRS is going to slam you with such a big fee. No, actually, I don't believe the IRS is going to slam me with such a big fee, because if they saw what you saw, they would probably be like, why are you even picking on this woman? Just forgive her debt automatically. And I bet you that's actually what's going to happen at this point. But yes, considering the tax fraud that I am very concerned happened in my name because other people were mishandling my personal data without my knowledge or my consent for sure, this is something I came to understand. I'm so aggravated about these people who misuse my data that it's literally making me like, it's agitating me. It feels like an allergy that I have to these people. So anyway, let's get to the good part, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I am going to arrange a payment for you. And lo and behold, I met the standard for the first scheduled payment. But the second one came in today, right? Today on the Lionsgate portal, right? August 3rd, 8/3. And I'm getting a notification and nasty AI collections, and we expected a payment from you, and it's not coming through, and da da da. And I was like, so let's backtrack in memory to the conversation that I had with the exact same representative just last week when the payment did process, where I got a notification that the requisite for my power of attorney, I'm not kidding, my power of attorney that was signed over to them was something that they requested in order to get to a My ID government collection of my data that people used illegally to sign up to fill their taxes out online by handing out their personal identification, like their non-driver IDs, their driver IDs, their social security numbers, everything posted online on a browser, no less. The browser being the least secure vector for information exchange, to be passing this information back and forth, basically just handing all of our security over to China and Iran during one of the worst hacking seasons to have ever attacked this country in a cyber war that nobody actually disclosed until I started talking about the nuance of what that could mean in a worse form that a nuclear war could actually take if it escalated there. But we digress a bit. They asked for my ID account, and I was like, I don't have access to it because actually the year that I got it set up, my email address got hacked and I lost all my passwords. So does that mean I'm not going to be able to do anything? And they're like, no, it should be fine. We'll have access. It'll just might take a little longer. And I'm like, so I'm just going to be paying you this whole time with no guarantee that you're even going to be able to have confirmation that documents were able to be pulled. And he was like, well, it'll take a little while. Not direct quotes, but this is their initials are JB for Jet Baldwin, right? This is the representative who's helping me. I was like, okay, interesting. So I told him very plainly last week, I'm considering canceling the services over this because there's not a lot of communication. I've called you several times regarding the promises you made about calling me to schedule payments and delay certain payments. As I was told, I'll reach out to you by the representative. I'll reach out to you and make sure that the scheduled payments can kind of get moved around to assure that, nothing that's going on is going to burden you anymore financially as we're resolving this. Never got a call. So I call again today when I get the notification that not only there's no approval for whether or not my documents were even requested properly or to the right authorities, but then I get a text message saying that I am going to need to pay another $168. Most people are still on that really old pay schedule where they get paid once every 2 and 3 weeks, right? I'm not saying that needs to stay that way, but some people's checks don't clear on time, and considering that there was an entire strike just recently where people did a lot of work and got paid nothing and were basically ingratiating themselves to people as panhandlers for the simple fact that they didn't get any money for the things that they actually did and had every right to sue for. This is a situation that, is a reality for people, whether or not they're making a middle, what would you call it, a middle class, if that even exists anymore, income. So this is where it got really interesting. I got on the phone with them. I asked for a cancellation of my account and was met with like a slew of AI representatives. It was at least 3 or 4 AI reps before I actually got to a human, and it took about 2 hours for them to call me back. And I was like, okay, well, at least there was some sort of brevity there, considering they had to get to the one human out of like 600 hired AIs. For all I knew, at that point, my representative could have been an AI. I wasn't sure until I got him back on the phone, and he sounded pretty dejected that I was going to cancel the services. And I understand that, he thinks that the service is a God service, but if they were truly serving the poor, they wouldn't have charged someone who had 14 cents in their account at the time a $500 fee for a service that is meant to be serving people of an upper class who probably just didn't want to pay attention to their taxes and said, oh, I'll pay $500, you do it. You do it for me. When there are actual people here concerned with the services and how they're going to be able to help them recover from a situation that's probably trying to destroy them through a lack of discernment, right? So I came to the conclusion that, yeah, I should probably cancel the services, and more or less, I would probably be able to argue my way out of that, supposing it even came to that, but it likely won't. In fact, I doubt it would, because if you look at me and what I have made over the course of time, you'll see that not only have I been responsible with my money, but I have done my best to file for whatever it is that could have even generated an income. And I made it a point, at least, to give effort to the fact that I cared about whether or not there were even extensions filed or paid attention to, because I care about how my input affects the economy and what documents would be weighted upon. And as it turns out, if it was actually audited, the IRS would probably owe me money, because when I didn't owe any money, I never got paid. And that was the proof with a form from the IRS documented that I was actually a victim of tax fraud. So we come to the present day where I'm almost 100% sure, in fact, I'm like 1,000% sure my debts would be forgiven because I wasn't the one filing additional income. And I do not, in fact, owe any money. But now the service that I figured out is likely, sadly, not catering to the audiences that it promised to, and perhaps doing its best to hold itself together. But this is just another example for me of why AI doesn't necessarily serve the public, why a lot of people have tried to take advantage of pyramid scheme-esque builds and structures for their businesses, and why it is inevitably not going to cater to a candidate like me who cares about how things are going to be done, the type of elevation that a person like me in my position could actually acquire from the services promised, and whether or not people actually hold their word, because promises mean something. It was sad to say that this threat intelligence actually panned out to show that something I had faith in, and full faith at that, enough to pay them, panned out to be something that was pretty much unraveling as a sham once I got a good look at it. And the giveaway, the dead giveaway for me, was the fact that every time a representative would be contacting me on the phone, they would sound surly about not receiving a payment, but they would also sound dejected when you asked to speak with the person who was actually the representative for your case, like I was. And I made it a point to leave messages to be called back or contacted back, and it was left unattended. And it wasn't a matter of patience because they were sure quick to ask for a payment and very slow to get back to me about the results that I justly deserved for the payment that was being requested. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up. If you were interested in using taxrise and you consider yourself to be less of a threat to the IRS financially for not meeting some sort of requirement that could probably be resolved in an audit quite quickly, you are probably in a good position to rescind from the services. And I'm not saying you need to. I'm just saying if you had the same experience I did, I would be super careful because that all seems like a crock of unrealistic expenses to me. I hope that helped everyone. I hope that you're all having a good night, and I hope you're all celebrating the Lionsgate portal really well. I wish you blessings, health, prosperity, and peace, and financial freedom too. If you are expecting payments from the IRS, I pray that all of this that you're expecting comes back to you tenfold, especially if you were honest. You deserve it. I love you all. Manifesting good energy for you. Good vibes, good vibes, good vibes, peace vibes, and lots of prosperity to come. I love you all. Have a wonderful night and good night.